Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first, and I have a pretty good rack. I can't see a 7-letter bingo, but this rack goes with a lot of floaters to make an 8-letter play. Now my opponent gets off to a good start with 48. What do I have? I'm sure there's one through the S. I think it's Saginate. But that place, actually that's not bad. That's straight onto the triple word score. So I think Saginate is good. What I also need to consider is whether there's anything through the J, and there isn't. These letters are so common that Saginate is going to be a very high probability bingo, so this is going to be a very bad miss if I've misremembered it. Doesn't look quite right, but I think it's good. I draw the Q. I have an I, so I have Chi. I can play Chin through the N of Saginate. But since I have the Q and the I, if I can't get a decent score for it, I may play off the V and some of the other tiles. I would not want to keep two I's, so I'd be looking to play off the V and the I. I also have Kintar and Trank through that N. All of those are blocked. So I don't think there is anywhere I can play my Q. Well, unless I were to put it directly above the I of Saginate, but that would be just 11 points, and I'd be keeping double I. So do I have a play through the J? Not which gets rid of the V. I could play Via at B9 down. 16 points, that's not great. I could play Vega at F10 down. Now, I do also have cat as a Q word. That would retain double I. So I'm just making sure that doesn't play anywhere for a lot of points. And I can't see anywhere for it. Now, what about this? Kiver across here. That's 19 points. It's not great putting the A underneath a premium square. But can I do any better? I don't think so. Well, this isn't great. I've still got the Q. I no longer have the A for cat. I've got duplicate I, duplicate R. But if I played something like Writ or Writer, or Write, I would be resolving the rack, albeit retaining the Q and the I. I could play Write at G4 across, but it's only 9 points. Okay, a big score for my opponent, 43. He's now 19 points ahead. So is there anywhere for my Q? No, there isn't. And if I had retained the A, I could have played cat at J10 across for a big score. But I didn't, so I can't. Wirra is good. Certainly resolves the rack. 16 points means it's better than changing. The rack leave of QIT isn't great. But I think this is the best I can do. Well, I really would like to get rid of this Q. It's been a drag on my rack. I've played 3 moves. Well, my first move was a bingo, but this is now my 3rd rack with the Q on it, and it's really hampering my game. I've scored 16 and 19 on the last 2 moves. That's a lot less than the points tally I like to be hitting. Having said that, I don't think there is anywhere for the Q. Well, I could play it at C10. Actually, that wouldn't be too bad. Only 11 points, but my rack leave of CEI MST would be great. I could play QIS at J9, but that's 16 points and it burns the S, so that's not good. I'm just considering if there are any front extensions of jokes coming down from A8. I don't know of any. I'm looking also at fax. I could play telefax with the right letters from C13 down, and then maybe plays beginning fax, which reach the double word square at M13. I have got scoring tiles in the C and the M. There aren't a great deal of scoring opportunities on this board. If I do play off QI, I'll be retaining 2 high-scoring tiles in the C and the M, which isn't ideal. But I can't see a way of playing off the Q with one of those tiles in the absence of a U. And the U of FUB is not available to me. A12 down parallel to Wirra is probably the best hotspot on the board. So my opponent may well play there. Row J is a good bingo lane because IT takes an S at the end as well as an A. So if he has a 7-letter bingo ending in S, he's got somewhere to play it. And I note also that the E of jokes is available as the final letter in a row G bingo. My opponent is 3 points ahead at this stage, and it is his go. B at G15, that is the BE prefix, could be the beginning of a 9-letter bingo reaching down to the triple word square at O15, so I need to keep that in mind. I'm scanning the board for opportunities and not really seeing many. In terms of row or column 12 parallel to Wirra, well, that's been blocked, so it doesn't really matter. Now, well, yeah, I've got a choice here. I can either play Chi and Primey, or I can play Cheese and Prims. I think Cheese is going to score a lot more. 33 points. Yeah, I think that's got to be best. Well, keeping the C and the M has hampered my bingo prospects, but this looks like a rack I ought to be able to resolve. And by resolve, I mean leave a decent rack leave to draw to. Through an A, I would have a Democrat. But in terms of floaters, I've just got the O and the E of jokes. I don't have any tiles for going underneath it. And I don't have any tiles which go at G9. 9. Well, not playing in row G, but maybe coming down column 9 I do. The M or the D could go in there. So I could play Rhymer, leaving Do set. What else is there? My opponent gets 22 for Lin. I could just... Min isn't good. I was thinking about placing my M at C13, but MIN is not good. Well, having been confident that I can resolve this rack, it's proving a little more problematic than I was expecting. Rhymer just can't be best. I don't have anything ending in the J. Do I have anything in row E going through the O of jokes? Gosh, there must be something there. Well, I have Comedo ending on that O. It wrecks the rack. The rack leave isn't good, it's just very short with just 2 letters. With this sort of rack I ought to be able to have a 5 or 4 letter rack leave. If I only have 2 letters, there's no guarantee I'll have a decent rack next go. But Comedo, what does that score? 22 points. And it's providing a very easy opportunity for my opponent to score. Well, let's have a look at this. That's 26 points, that's a lot of points. The rack leave is okay, particularly if I draw a vowel. Although I note there aren't really any opportunities for words ending ED on this board. But I'm not providing an easy opportunity for my opponent. I duplicate the D. I do not draw a vowel, so this isn't good. Now I want to play off the V, and certainly one of the Ds. Derv is a word, and verd, V-E-R-D. I'm looking in row E, through the O of jokes. Devot is good. Great, my opponent only scores 8 points. So this is what I'm thinking about playing. Devot. 20 points. The triple letter square under the E of Devot is a really hot spot for my opponent. Makes it very easy for him to score. My rack leave isn't great. It is 20 points. And if I don't play that, what do I play? Well, CRD is not bad, especially if I draw vowels. It is just... Well, it's 2 things I don't like about this move. 20 points isn't very many, and that triple letter square. And I guess with my opponent only scoring 8 points, he may well have retained a very promising set of 5 tiles. Well, let's find out. Great, well, having kept 3 consonants, I draw 4 vowels. If I'd kept any vowels at all, this would have been a worse rack. Now, I don't have a bingo, I don't think. Oh well, there go both the blanks. 66 points for my opponent. He probably would have had a bingo in row J. And 66 isn't a huge score. Yeah, he's hit... well, no, the play is doubled, but the 2 blanks score nothing, which is why the score isn't as big as it may have been. So my opponent now has a 36-point lead. What do I have? Now, there aren't many floaters to consider for bingos. Most of them are vowels, and I'm pretty sure I do not have a 5-vowel bingo. I do have the OID ending. Can't see anything through the G of dialogue. Dialogue does take a D and an R, so I suspect my best opportunity is just playing in row M. So I could play cardio. Let's see what this scores. Cardio 30 points, that's a big score. The rack leave isn't great, but if I wanted a good rack leave I'd need to play something like COO, keeping raid, but I'm not going to score 30 points for playing coup anywhere. The other place I could score points is H1 across, but I can't put the C on the double letter square at H4, so I'd probably be looking at something like cruel, CROOL. 24 points. That would be taking a 6-point hit in order to retain AID instead of O. Well, I don't think that's worth doing. And I like cardio because I am behind at the moment, and cardio opens two areas of the board. This isn't a great rack, but I've got scoring tiles in the H's, and there's a U at J5 which takes an H after it, so I could play UH down at I6. Ooh, 72 points for my opponent. Good score for him. So what I was thinking of was this, 28 points, and the rack leave of honed is pretty good. Zinco takes an S after it. I don't have one of those. There are two unseen. I'm just looking to see what other options I have. I could place just one H at C13 for 26 points, but that keeps the U, and I'm much better off jettisoning the U. I don't have a play across from H1. Well, actually I do. I have Hondel. 36 points. 6 more points, but keeping UH. I'd rather sacrifice 6 points and have honed. Duplicate D again, but there are no more unseen Ds. I have blocked Hondel. The spot for my H I was considering before is not good because I'd be retaining the Ds, and I certainly need to play one of them. So I'm now 60 points behind, so I certainly want to keep the board open and if possible make it more open. That's not easy, and I need to score as well. So the priority is playing off one or both Ds. How can I do that? Well, I could play down from B6, I could play honed. That's a pretty volatile move, but volatility is good. So that scores 27 points. That's a good score. Rack leave of DER is fine. I am opening up row A for the front hooks of honed, But I think that's just P. Let me just check that in my mind. I think it's just P, looking at the letters, the consonants that are left. Okay, so that's not as wild an opening move as I thought it might be. Yep. Great. A nice rack. I am sure I have a bingo here. Dieters, diester, riced, recited. And there are others. But where do they play? Certainly they can play in rows L and N, above and below cardio. Great, that stays available. Nothing goes in front of the Z of Zinco, so I can't play in column 1. I don't want to play in column 3 because I'm not going to hit a premium square. So it looks like row L is best. Yep, can't play in row J underneath text. Fax doesn't take a single tile after it. I've got just over 6 minutes left, which isn't very much. 16 tiles in the bag, 7 on my opponent's rack. Great, this is going to bring me back into contention. Dieters. For 71 points. Wow, pretty good. Rettable, Bleater, both of those play at N7 across. Might be other bingos here. Now Z takes an A after it, but I can't see any bingos, any 7s ending in an A. Neither Rettable nor Bleater plays in row K. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to challenge this in case it's not good. Ah, it is good. Okay, so... yeah, that pretty much scuppers both Rettable and Bleater. But is there anything else? Because row O... well, is row O available? C doesn't take anything underneath it. R has got to take the E underneath it. So I'll be looking at a word which ended E-E-R or A-E-R. Okay, that doesn't work. I'm 72 points behind. There are 2 tiles in the bag. So, what do I need to win this game? Well, it's probably out of reach. But there is the bingo lane in column 3, if I could make Tsar. I've got 4 minutes left. I'm not happy about not figuring all the bingos from this rack. I just feel that Bleater and Rettable isn't a full set. Okay, well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. So do I play off 1 tile or 2? Lots of A's left. Now, the trouble with being 70 odd points behind is if I score hardly anything by playing off 1 tile, my opponent gets 30 points, and then even if I do bingo, I don't win. So I think I do need to play off 2 tiles. I'm wondering about gel. I suspect this doesn't score enough. 12 points. That's pretty dismal. Let's put this back. What else can I do? Terrible and rateable are good, and I mention that because I could have a play through the A of cardio as an 8-letter play. Neither of the two I've mentioned works, and there are no other anagrams with this rack. Now, what if I play EL down here? 14 points. Still pretty poor. Wow. This is a real struggle. There will, as always, be a best move, but I don't know what it is. Gosh, and this probably isn't necessary because my opponent doesn't have an E to go underneath underneath the R of pre-cut, so I'm not denying him that spot. So this is better because I do have the E. Okay, let's see what I have. Ant Bear doesn't play. It just so nearly plays in both column 3 and row O, but it doesn't play. Ant Bear, is there an anagram? Don't think there is. There'd be Ratsbane through an S. There isn't an S available. Why has my opponent played that? K9. Okay, 35 points. Well, the game is his. He has won. So, how can I score well? Bran, 22 points. My opponent's got Lone. He can play that in column 3. Well, I'm sure he can play it elsewhere. Although I can't immediately see where. Well, maybe I should block that and we'll see if he can find somewhere else. Okay, if he doesn't, I've got rate at O4. What else do I have? I also have rate at O11. Okay. He can't block both of those. He has 11 minutes on his clock to find an outplay. Lanoid might be good, which is playable at F1. I'm not sure about that. In terms of 4-letter words, does Lone have any anagrams? Don't think it does. If my opponent doesn't go out, then certainly Ban was a better play than Bran. Great, he doesn't go out, so I can play rate down here. And that's 12 points. Just wait for my opponent to end the game, which he does. And the final score was 394 to me, 466 to my opponent. So a winning margin for him of 72 points. Well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. Ooh. Oh my word. That's looking at the invalid words played, and looks like my opponent played deluge instead of dialogue. Well, I didn't spot that. So my opponent went first. Saginate was the only bingo, so I'm glad to have spotted that. Caveat. Oh, what a great word, and very disappointing to miss that because it's a very well-known Q word, and the rack leave of ART would have been great. And I also note that fakir was playable through FA of FUB. So Kiva was not such a great play. Here Wirra looks fine. And B14, yep, this is my play of cheese. .com, that's nice, and Tom Cod playable at E4. This is where I was thinking about playing Comedo and didn't. Yeah, I think Mo is probably similar. Now I played Devot here, that looks fine. And this is where my opponent, there it is, look, diluge. Just shows sometimes when you think a word has been played, it hasn't, and in this case it hadn't. Now here it's not going to consider extensions for dialogue or diluge because any such extension would be a phony, so I can't really compare my move to the others. Wow, and if I'd challenged off diluge, then my opponent would not have had Zinco, so very expensive error. Honeyed and Hondel. Well, this is where I played UH for 28, and that's fine. Honed B6, yep, that was my play. And Diester and Dieters were the highest scoring bingos. So my opponent bingoed. I did not have a bingo. I could have played Al B at 04. Well, scores a lot of points, but at this point there were only 2 in the bag and I was still seeing if I could get a bingo, which I think is the only way I could have won the game. And finally, well, it's suggesting 05 Bray, but this is just a list of maximum scores. It's not taking into account whether my opponent can go out. So I think my player ban was fine. Well, I lost that. My opponent scored very well. He made, I'm sure he did know how to play dialogue, how to spell dialogue, and simply misclicked. But slightly annoying not to have spotted that. It's very, very important to pay attention, and it's harder to pay attention online than it is face to face. So, well, that's just something which you need to be aware of. But it was an interesting game. The Q lingered on my rack, and Kiviot was the play which should have released it at an earlier stage. So well done if you spotted that. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.